Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Christine Smith. I am the program manager of the South Coast Food Policy Council, which is a program of the Marion Institute. And this is our fourth quarterly meeting. We started the meetings in January this year. And this is going to be fun. So we are going to be basically reviewing a year of what we've done so far. And what I want to first do, though, is invite everybody who is a community advisory board member or a working group member to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself in what organization you're with or where you live. And also the food equity advisors that are on board as well, to unmute yourself in and share your name and where you are. Because you guys are the ones we're really celebrating today, all the work you've all collectively done. So I invite you all just to popcorn, unmute yourself and share your name, what organization with and where you are, and what you do in the South Coast Food Policy Council.
I'll start. I'm Sarah Labossiere, coordinator for Mass in Motion Fall River, and I'm on the Community Advisory Board and the Policy Working Group.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'm Wendy Garflip from United Neighbors of Fall River, a community collaboration agency, and I'm on the CAB, and I'm also on the Education Committee.
Victoria Grisella, Vice President of Marketing, Community Engagement for United Way of Greater New Bedford. I oversee our Hunger Commission here at United Way, and I'm on the Food Access Group.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Levitt. I've got that. Oops, sorry, Joy. I'm a work in Fairhaven, running 2 oyster farms and live in Falmouth.
Thank you, Deb. Joya?
Hi, I'm Joya Pursuti with the New Bedford Health Department. I am the Greater New Bedford Opioid Task Force Coordinator, and I also coordinate a number of substance use grants and also a variety of other health equity related projects. I am, I guess, a CAB member, of course, co-chairing the Education and Communication Group. And yes, I work in New Bedford. I live on Cape Cod, and I think that's probably it, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Joya.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie?
I'm Stephanie Taylor. I'm on the Community Advisory Board. I work with Martha's Vineyard Vegan Society. I'm the Executive Administrator. I'm also Chairwoman of Bristol County Commission on the Status of Women. And now I'm working with True Diversity here in Taunton, where I actually live.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
Pam Keechler from PACE.
Hey, Pam.
Hi.
Hi.
Karen Schwalbe, Executive Director of the Southeastern Massachusetts Agricultural Partnership on the CAB. And on the Education Committee, I also live on the Cape in Falmouth. This is my last meeting in this role. So I will be leaving Cmap at the end of the month. Shannon Hickey from Cmap will be our interim executive director, and I am headed to the Farm Bureau.
I am saddened, and at the same time, I know the Farm Bureau it's going to be a great place, and you're going to be a huge asset to that and to our work through the Farm Bureau. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
but thank you.
I'm
for
not
the
leaving you
past
guys.
year.
Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome. And Shannon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cmaps program coordinator for now. It's soon to be interim executive director, I suppose. I'm on the policy working group.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'm Laura Smith. I'm a farmer in Dighton, Rehoboth, and Seekonk, and on the Cmap board. I'm very sad but happy for Karen. And I'm on the Communication and Education Working Group.
Jim McKee.
He said he's in a noisy cafe, so he just introduced himself in the chat.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joya.
Good.
Aaron?
Yes, hi. Are we just doing introductions?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, my name's Erin. I'm a realtor and broker associate with Robert Paul and Marion. I'm a member of the CAB Education Working Group.
Very good. Thank you, Erin. And Sarah. I'm going to call on you, Sarah, not Sarah Leboisier, Sarah Buck.
Hi, everybody. My name's Sarah Buck, and I was invited to this group. I was a resident food equity advisor, and I was asked if I would be interested in joining this group. So I'm a newbie. I know some familiar faces. Thank you very much for everything everybody in this group does. Good job. It's going to be fun.
Thank you, Sarah. And Sarah's now in one of our working groups too with the education communication. So thank you. And anybody else in the CABR working group? James.
Hi, James Lander, Communications and Outreach Coordinator for Cmap. You've got all three of us here today, and also in the Food Access Working Group.
Thank you. And Sarah Cogswell.
Hey there, this is Sarah Cogswell. I'm the Executive Director of the Livestock Institute, and it's good to hear from everyone.
Yeah, welcome. So I think I got everybody that's on the South Coast Food Policy Council Community Advisory Board Working Group or Food Equity Advisor. And I really thank all of you for all the hard work over the past year. So again, what I said before, this is a celebration of what we've done this past year. So I'm basically going to go over the agenda, which is a review essentially of what we've done this past year together. So I'll talk about where we've come from, a little bit of the history from the beginning of the year till now, and some general updates. And then through our working group co-facilitators, we will share on what we have basically done through the working groups. And then we'll talk about what we're doing moving forward. We'll talk about our food equity advisors and shine a light on all the excellent work they've been doing. And we'll have an invitation to the public to join more as community advisory board members and as working group members. We'll talk about the candidate forum that we're going to be working with Cmap on. And throughout, of course, if there any time there are questions, comments, or additions or suggestions, you're welcome to just unmute yourself or add your comments or questions into the chat. Okay, does this sound good? Okay, thank you. All right, so we've done some introductions, but I want to do now a little bit of the history of where we've come. So we are celebrating 1 year in September of actually working in the community advisory group, community advisory board. And what we've done so far in the community advisory board for our group, which started off as 30 members and now we're at 26 members. And during this time, the community advisory board has done a lot of work. They've been meeting monthly. And in that work, they've also had training on food equity, on the food system assessment, on the legislative advocacy. And at the same time, we've also finished that food system assessment. And then we did a lot of presentations in the community to get more buy-in and just to share that information, which is super helpful. And we use that research as the foundation for actually doing all of our strategic planning. So we, as the community advisory board, we worked with one of our partners outside of the organization to do more of a dialogical decision-making approach, starting with 155 ideas that everybody brought forward from the research and narrowing it down to 26 priorities. Once we had those 26 priorities, we narrowed them into working groups. And then, so each of the 4 working groups peppered into them the priorities. So we have the policy working group, the capacity building working group, the food access working group, and the education and communication working group. So once we had those working groups and the priorities within that, we reopened the invitation to the public to invite different people on board into these different working groups because we had more of a sense of what we're going to be working on. So more people joined on. So currently we have roughly 10 people per working group working on some particular areas. I'm going to stop there. Any questions or comments or additions or suggestions? Okay. All right, so that's what we've done so far. So now we're going to leap a little bit forward into the working groups. So within the working groups, we had to make some decisions because we can't do everything. So with that, I'm going to start with our food access working group. Now do have a few people that are on here from food access. So I'm going to share some of what we've done, but I'm also going to invite you if you want to add anything if you're on the food access working group. So what we decided we would do is the food access working group. And again, based on the research of the food system assessment, we'll be working to develop programs and best practice initiatives to reduce food waste and put more food into the local food system. So that's basically the goal, the larger goal that we're looking at that we want to get to. And moving forward, we want to look at the possibility of actually creating a gleaning program. For those of you who don't know what gleaning is, it's harvesting from the farmer's field. And we opened that also understanding around rescuing food as well. So we want to look at the idea, is it possible to put together a gleaning program? So we're just in the initial stages of trying to look at that. And we know we have had an increase in our food alert system. So that is an email group that when people in the community have different food providers, so somebody says, hey, hi, I have a bunch of chickens, and then they use that email system and they let the community know we have these chickens, they may need anything. So that's kind of how we've been working with that. And there's been a lot of sharing of information. And this is like a resource network that will help with food access moving forward. Any questions about that? Or anybody in food access want to add to that? Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to invite Joya. She is our co-chair for the Education and Communication Working Group to unmute herself and share what we've done and what we're going to do in this Education and Communication Working Group.
I'm unmuted now. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I do want to acknowledge Christine for all the hard work that she did to compile and distill all of our ideas so that they could be actionable. We could begin executing them and then further down the line enhance them some more. So I feel like we should all put our little clapping hands up for Christine. And she's been really helpful guiding us all in this process. So I really look forward to you know, just the future of this group. So this has been such good energy and a lot of momentum just starting up. And I know that it's really hard to start something up and do it well and keep people engaged. So just want to send that little acknowledgement. So we had September, one of the initiatives we had, this first one was September Hunger Awareness Month. And we were able to disseminate that information to our members, and then our members are able to disseminate that as well to their respective networks. And I think for the next year, we're going to try and enhance that a little bit more with more actionable items beyond just like just to donate food, like what types of food, how that can be impactful, and the why of what we're donating to and why we need to donate certain food items. So again, just expanding that. And then there was an amazing virtual food summit that was highly well attended. I think we had over 130 people that attended and are registered. And that was just a really rich discussion. And I think it really helped a lot of people and just reinforced the work that we are doing and that we can continue to do. So that was really great. And I think in the future, we want to try and make that an in-person food summit, which I think would be really nice as well, because there is a different dynamic. Zoom has many conveniences, as we know, but in-person has its own special character as well. And I think I covered everything, right? Did I cover everything? I think I did.
Yeah, let me look through here real quick. Yeah, you've got it. Yeah.
Yep. So I think really just working on building out the things that we know we've done that have been successful, and then even just leaving space for additional action items as we kind of work through the work plan and see where there's, you know, gaps needed or intersection. So we're just, you know, keeping that space open too.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. And Sarah, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I was just curious. I can't remember. Was housing part of some of this discussion that we had brought up
Yes.
in the past? I was curious how that was going in with all this.
So that was like a first discussion of just breaking down silos, and really the reason why we're doing it is because you can't talk about food without talking about all these other areas, which was transportation, healthcare, and housing. So it really was just a beginning of a conversation and to help create some new networking that hadn't been there before. So it was really just that initial conversation, Sarah. And yeah, it is important. And we are trying to work within that realm. But yeah, so we want to continue to have those types of discussions, both here and across the state. And so that was like our initial foray into that. What does that look like? Because Pace from Josh Emerald, you heard him, does work in both food and housing. So it was one of those where how can we create policies that are looking both at food and housing and transportation? So it's just like one of those breaking through the silo kind of moments in that forum. And that's why we want to keep replicating that idea of breaking through those silos as a food policy council. So that's a great question, Sarah. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Larry.
Yeah, both a comment and a question. The comment, yeah, I attended that virtual summit, and it was one of the best things that I've attended in a long time. It was very well done. And as somebody who's tried to put on kind of virtual and in-person events, I know how difficult it can be. That one was inspirational. It was educational. It was just a lot of things, and helped to for me anyway, to just get a clearer idea of both the intersection of these various things and what's being done and what could be done. Yeah, just so kudos to all of you who were part of it, yeah, for a really good thing. My question goes back to that first working group in the talk about gleaning. What are the things that would need to happen for gleaning to take place? So we talked about wanting to get it started. What needs to happen for that to be the case?
There's a few things we're working on. So one is that we need a little extra capacity to actually do this. So we're working the United Way of Greater New Bedford, which is Tori on the phone. They have put out a few VISTA applications. Tori, you want to speak about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been trying to recruit for quite a while now to AmeriCorps Vistas through United Way Worldwide, where we would have both of those positions working in the food sphere, and they would be doing some things differently, but the one thing that they would be collaborating on is to create a South Coast Gleaning Program. And so that's our first priority, is to hopefully fill those sooner than later. And then we would be working with the Sharing the Harvest Farm out at the YMCA in Dartmouth. They've already said that they would be interested and willing to kind of be like our test as we start up the program. And they'd also be our training facility. So we would need to, with the Vistas, they would be recruiting folks to be the gleaners at local farms, and then the Vistas would continue to recruit additional farms to be a part of this. But we would need to get these people in first, and then start the training program and figure out what the right ways of doing gleaning is, the best practices throughout the road of that.
Thank you, Tori. Does that answer your question, Larry?
Yeah, it's really helpful. And part of the reason why I ask is, I'm here representing a small church in Fairhaven. We've got 160, 180 members, something like that. And we know that we want to be more involved in kind of food insecurity issues, and the notion of gleaning seems appealing in that it's something concrete that people can do, whether it's adults or our youth to be involved with. So always kind of on the lookout for things that can engage people, and because once they're engaged, you can kind of bring them into some of the bigger issues that are related. But it's the doing of something. And
yeah, and once this gets off the ground, once we're at that point, we would need a lot of volunteers, and so this sounds like it would be a perfect connection.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Larry, if I could, just a real quick thing, Larry, I would highly, this is Sarah Buck over here. I would highly recommend that you take a ride out to the Dartmouth YMCA, to the farm out there, and meet Ashley and the folks out there that make the magic happen. And they always need volunteers, so that'd be a good way to get some of your folks interested into it. And then when we can have our program, then we'd already have volunteers trained, kind of thing. So just a thought.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah. Wendy.
Thank you.
I would also suggest that if you can't get to the farms right away, there's a great organization called Lasagna Love that provides cooked lasagnas for families in need. You can make as few or as many as you want. I make a whole bunch at a time, keep them in my freezer, and as they need them, they come and they pick them up. So that's something that you can do. You can make vegetarian, you can make meat, whatever you want to do. And they're all in a half steamer pan. And it's a really great organization. A lot of my clients, my families receive lasagnas on a regular basis, and it has made a big difference in their ability to feed their families. So if you want more information, Larry, I'll put my email in the chat. You can reach out to me and I'll send you the information that you need.
Excellent. Excellent. Lots of love there. Thank you. That was good. All right. Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, part of that person's job will be reaching out and figuring all this out with the Boston area gleaners in different places. That'll be part of that job, but we'll also work with them in that working group as well, whoever those vistas are, AmeriCorps vistas. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to our capacity building working group. And our co-chair isn't here today, so I'm going to just step in for a moment. So our capacity building working group is really going to be looking at how do we build out physical infrastructure and networking capacity for our region. And within that, moving forward, we plan to evaluate what the needs are for storage, dry storage, and refrigerated storage space, to examine the potential of additional regional space, whether that's through partnerships with existing groups that already have the space, or if that's something that we actually need to actually draw down funds and try to build. So we're just in the very beginning stages of doing an assessment to figure out what the needs are and what actually exists out there. So we're just kind of in that research phase. So that's part of that. And then we want to build out our networks to really look at farm to school and farm to institution. So we're just looking to building both human networks and physical infrastructure. That's capacity building. I know there are some people in our capacity building group here. Do you want to add anything for those folks that are on the call? Okay. All right. So with that, I'm going to turn to Jim. And I know you're in a coffee shop, Jim, but if you want to try it out, and we'll talk about the policy working group and what we're going to do there. Jim, you're off mute, but I can't hear anything. Okay, you want to try again? Okay, I still can't hear anything, Jim. Okay, he said his mic is not working. He just tried to come off of mute. Okay, thanks, Jim. I'm sorry this didn't work out. So with the policy working group, we are advocating for the following items with legislator, and this will be a variety of different ways that we're going to advocate, through letter writing, through testimony, through in-person visits, a lot of different ways we'll do this. So we're going to advocate for the permanent funding of HIP in the budget. We're going to advocate for the permanent funding of the Farm to School grant program in the budget. We're going to advocate for medically tailored food. And we're going to look at pre-made food to be covered by SNAP. There's some already existing legislation around this, so we're going to be jumping on and supporting all that work. We're going to advocate for equity in agriculture. There's a bill that didn't get out of committee last year, but we're going to keep focusing on that and getting more support for equity in agriculture bill. And then we're going to advocate for a lot of the budget items that make up the food system, such as mass in motion, Cmap, Mass Extension, and a lot of different food system programs that we're going to continue to advocate for. So those are the things we're going to be doing. The great thing we've already achieved this past year is we had that legislative advocacy training in July, which we already posted online, but we can post again. I'm going to just really quickly put in the link for that training. And we posted the training on YouTube. So it's anybody in the public can jump on and get trained up. That was through the Massachusetts Food System Collaborative, and it's quite extensive and very dense. So be aware that just take your time with that. Okay, any questions or additions? I know there's some people in the policy working group on this call. Do you want to add anything? Okay.
Christine, do you want to mention candidates night? Is that later in
Yes.
the agenda? Okay.
Yes, we can talk about that now. So in partnership with Cmap, we are going to be holding a candidate forum for very specifically District 8 and 10 of Bristol County for the House of Representatives. So that's going to be on October 25 from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, and it'll be online. And we will send the bit link to register soon. We're just working out the kinks on the backside today. So we'll be able to send that out today or tomorrow. So that'll be the candidates in District 8 are Representative Paul Schmidt and Mr. Evan Gendro. And for District 10, the candidates are Representative Bill Strauss and Dr. Jeffrey Swift. So we are going to be looking again, October 25 from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And that will be done by our policy working group. And a lot of the members here have added to our process of how we're going to run it, to the questions we're going to ask. So the policy working group moving forward is also going to take this underneath their belt as well. So every year, the policy working group will be working on not only our policy issues, but the food will be working in hand with the food summit, but that'll be really the education and communication. And then we'll be working on the candidate forum moving forward. Anybody want to add anything else from policy? Okay, so we're going to be trying to do some district meetings in the short term and just try to do basic relationship work with our legislators in our area. So that's something we're going to just start to do. And once we have a better understanding of how that's going to work and who can do that, we'll start doing more of them. So I see some questions in the chat around this. So Sarah from the Livestock Institute asked, who is the target audience in the forum? Those are the people living in District 8 and District 10. We're doing the candidate forum together, so we're not going to split the time like you only if you're in District 8, come at this time. We're not doing that. It's all at once. So all 4 candidates will receive the questions all at once from the 2 districts. Can we promote to our constituents and members? Yes. So once I have that, we'll have a flyer. I'm going to send it to Cmap for them to look at. Then we'll push it out with that link so you can register for it. So thank you, Sarah. Great questions. Yeah, so this is District 10 and District 8 of Bristol County for the House of Representatives, October 25 from 6:30 to 8. So we'll send the details shortly. Any other questions about that? Okay. All right, some other general achievements, and then I'm going to go to the Food Equity Advisors. So one of the things we also did was we updated our website. So if you go to the marioninstitute.org website, SFPC, you can see our updated, Joya, can you do me a favor? Can you go to that website, take the link, and then put it in the chat? Just go to like the general SFPC front page. So we have updated our website for the Marion Institute on that page. So I encourage you to go through, see who your community advisory board members are, and look at all the resources that we have. We're very transparent. Everything we do recorded is posted up there. So take a look at that. And then the other thing I'm going to move to is the Food Equity Advisors. So what we've done this past year is we've been trying to invite and encourage people in the community who have lived experience of hunger or feeling the direct pain of that experience, to be part of our group, to have a voice at the table and to help make the decisions, to tell us where we're going wrong, to make sure we're going on the right track. And we've been asking our food equity advisors and meeting with them on the side and trying to develop relationship with folks and really get the input from people to make sure we're doing where we're supposed to be. We're really helping the community. I'm really not explaining that well, but anyway, one of the people that is here today is Sarah Buck. Sarah Buck is also a food equity advisor. Thank you, Joya, for putting that out there. So Sarah has done some extraordinary things already with the South Coast Food Policy Council. She might boo herself, but I think she's done a lot. So one of the things I want to highlight that Sarah has done is she went to the White House listening session. Sarah, you want to share some of what you have done in the video you did?
No.
Sarah went to one of the White House listening sessions. So many of the people in our community hosted little gatherings, including the Greater Boston Food Bank. And Sarah went to one of the White House listening sessions. And she also submitted a video to the White House that went to the White House. And that was a really big deal. That was a big step to take about HIP in particular, about working in this community, how important it is that we continue to have HIP. And she's done an excellent job as an advocate and speaking out.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. I'm on, I was an EMT firefighter in Florida for many years. And then I moved here to Massachusetts when I was diagnosed with lupus. And now I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I only get $13,000 a year annual income to live on. So things are pretty doggone tight. I've been lucky to be a recipient of the Food is Medicine program. Actually, I'll get a delivery this evening. So that is fantastic. I've been working a lot with them. That's made a huge difference. And yeah, myself going through various things, I'm really shocked at the fact that the providers, the nurses, they don't know about these programs. They don't know about the YMCA Full Plate Project. They don't know about Food is Medicine. They don't know about these things. Also, I live here in Fairhaven. We just had a brand new pharmacy, the Fairhaven Pharmacy, that opened up. And I went in and I asked the pharmacist, you know, he's going to be the doctor here in town, so to speak, if he knew about any of this. And he has no idea about any of this. How can we get this to the people? How can we connect better? So that's something that's really important, I think, in this area. I don't know if I'm going way off script, but
no, that's fine, Sarah. But you bring the reality to the situation. That's exactly why we want to now recruit more food equity advisors. So we're at a point where the South Coast Food Policy Council, we're not a direct service program. We don't. So what we've been doing is going into the community and doing focus groups. In the focus groups, we've been asking the community about our plans that we're thinking of and asking for input and asking about the reality of what's happening wherever they are. So we're doing more of those to recruit more people. And part of that recruitment is to get people into working groups so they have a voice at the table and they have the ability to give them the opportunity to decide what's going to happen here in the community, and which Sarah has done. And Sarah is now in our education and working group, which speaks to her point around how do we educate more people in the community about SNAP and HIP. So that's really good. That was a good link. And Sarah Boissier asked in the chat if you'd be willing to share your video. You don't have to, it's up to you. I can do that, or you can do that, but we can do that later if you don't feel comfortable, you want to think about it. Yeah.
Doesn't bother me at all, darling. I am a ham bone. I am a giant ham. You can never embarrass me at all. I share loud and proud, all right?
Okay, so I'll be able to share, I have that link. I'll be able to share back to the entire group that came on today and share that link with you guys. Yeah. Great. Okay, so with the food equity advisors, we are looking for doing a few more focus groups. We've done one in Fall River. We've done one in Wareham. We're trying to set 2 more up in New Bedford. So we're just in that process of rescheduling. Some people were sick and we just didn't, with COVID, we just don't want to play any games. So we're just rescheduling one of them. So we're working with different partners and we're going to continue to do that every year. We're going to continue to recruit as people come on and off, which brings us to our next point. So we are going to be recruiting for community equity, community advisory board members and working group members. So we're going to start that recruitment in November and December, and people we onboarded in January. So that's how it's going to work. So right now we're talking with all the community advisory board members and working group members to see what their capacity is for continuing on. And then we'll be able to know how many openings we have per working group and community advisory board that we have. Sarah, you have a question?
Yeah, I just, I wanted to say, as resident advisor is, we need more Black and brown advisors to represent the different cultures that we have here in this beautiful state. Also, myself as a disabled person, you know, that kind of brings something to the table too, making things universally accessible. So that's it, a couple points there.
No, it's beautiful. And we do need more diversity in our group. And I welcome that. And if people have ideas or suggestions for people for us to approach, we'd love to get your input on that. And we do want to have more diversity in our group. So thank you across the board on the community advisory board, working group, food equity advisors, at whoever's at the table. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. So that said, we have a few more minutes. So if you have ideas for who we should invite, please share them. I'm gonna just put in here the email address that you can use. It's sfpc@marioninstitute.org. If you could share any ideas that you have, who is not at the table, we want to invite them to the table. Okay, any final questions or comments or any ideas or feedback? This is the time. We want your input. So if you have any thoughts about what we've shared or suggestions or comments. So Larry, you put, is there a place that has descriptions for these roles? Great question. I have some up on our page, but it's not a live link yet. So I will make those live links with those descriptions for the working group and the community advisory board. Thank you. Okay. Any comments on what we've shared so far? On the direction we're going? So this was like a year summary.
Hi, this is Joya. I think that I just want to acknowledge all the strong work that we did. Again, I just want to echo that again. I know I mentioned that earlier, but I think gratitude cannot be expressed enough to the group and the members, and especially Christine, and to just, it's really great that we're continuing the momentum. And so I look forward to additional outputs and whatnot. And, you know, please, I represent the health department, so please utilize the health department as you see fit. As you know, I'm in the substance abuse role, but I'm also an epidemiologist and a nutritionist, so happy to help in any capacity along those lines or others, just being a bridge or connecting. So just please know the health department is in full support of this group as well.
Thank you, Joya. That's really good to hear. We appreciate that. I'm going to go to Stephanie Taylor and then I'll go to Sarah Cogswell. Stephanie, I know you, I don't think there's context here in the group. We can explain this. So Sarah, you here, or Stephanie Taylor?
I'm here.
Okay. So do you want to explain the context within the working group of where we went with this, or do you want me to start?
I'll let you break it down because you do it so well.
All right. So Stephanie and Patrice are both in our community advisory board and working group. So they work at the Martha's Vineyard Vegan Association and are deeply engaged in the work on Martha's Vineyard. And one of the things they're connected to is the Wampanoag on the island there. So Stephanie brought forward that there is a land rights case that's happening on Martha's Vineyard, and they were looking for just a little help. And so we invited conversation with Stephanie Taylor, with Patrice, and with the family that has the land rights case with the Wampanoag there. Is it the Aquina? Am I saying that right?
The Aquina.
Okay. And so we had a discussion, and we wanted to do what we could with the Food Policy Council to help out with the land rights case. So we reached out to some lawyers that we knew, got some information, and we shared this back to the family. And so they have been going through this court case for a while, and Stephanie was just updating us on where we're at. So Stephanie, you want to add to that?
Yeah, because I have to give the advisory board their kudos, because, and as well as the Marion Institute, because in your thorough research, the acknowledgement of the land piece is how this came about. And so listening and hearing that and knowing what was going on in the vineyard, it just was parallel. Here we're talking about the foundation of the food systems, and here today in 2022, the foundation of that is still going on. So the fact that you guys jumped in, it shut down everything we were doing in that moment, showed to me, you know, everyone is preaching DEIB, diversity, equality, inclusion, belonging. And in that moment, it felt like I was a part of a team that really cared about what was going on. We're talking about quite a significant amount of land. It is the basis of the lack of financial, economic, food, everything that has to do with the natives as well as minorities. You know, the fact that we are not landowners and growing our own food. So it all definitely ties in. They are in trial today. I appreciate you guys a lot, and as do they. And they wanted me to update you. So
Thank you, Stephanie.
So, thank you.
They're in our thoughts, in our prayers. And just if Patrice and the family have any, and Troy, if there's anything that we can do, anything that we need, I mean, we got an enormous resource in the South Coast Food Policy Council. So just let us know if there's something we can do. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, because the reaching out to the Wampanoag is actually one of the huge things we're trying to do as well. So we do have some work we need to do. We've met some of the leaders, and we're just having some backside talks about what that would potentially would look like on the community advisory board, with what their priorities are. So that we're in discussion right now, but it is a huge issue of who's not at the table, who's being most impacted. Not everybody's here. So we are working on that. So Sarah had another question, bad connection in the field. Just a question about how to suggest add new partners groups. You might have said this. Oh, yeah, if there are new groups or new partners, just email Liz or I, and then we can schedule those one-on-ones with those new groups or new people that you're thinking of. So it just toss everything our way. So it's either sfpc@marioninstitute.org or liz@marioninstitute.org. Either way, just any connections, ideas, send them our way. Yeah, we're open to that. And we're constantly trying to break through silos. That's a big thing. So we want to be inclusive and think outside the box too. Thank you. Yeah. So any other questions or suggestions or things we didn't hit, like what we did this whole year, for any of you who are on the community advisory board or working groups? Okay. All right, so that is the end of our South Coast Food Policy Council quarterly meeting. We will be having more quarterly meetings in the coming year. We'll still be, looks like 12 o'clock noon works well. So our next quarterly meeting will be in January, and I will send out details when we have them. This recording will be posted onto our website. It'll also be pushed out to everybody that's here. Thank you so much for all the work everybody has done, and for the community for responding when we have an ask to the community. Thank you to the Community Advisory Board, to the working groups, and to our food equity advisors as we continue this work into the coming year. Thank you so much. Have a great day.